Today's gonna be an interesting video. I'm not sure where I'm gonna take this, but I was having some interesting thoughts that I needed to get out. And I guess that's today's topic of the video. Trying to find meaning in 2021, trying to find meaning as an adult, and what does that mean for myself? I realized once you graduate from college, you don't have these predetermined milestones that are already set out for you to achieve. You kind of have to create your own goals and your own milestones. And I'm finding this to be quite the difficult process, right? I'm 23. I graduated college in March of 2020 during the peak of the pandemic. I've almost been out of school for 2 years. It's been a year and a half, and it's been quite the roller coaster. As I'm getting more settled into my new role, I've almost been working for a whole year. So I guess you can kind of say I'm getting more familiar with my role and becoming more acquainted. It's just kind of weird. I can kind of see how a lot of your dreams you had as a kid just kind of start to get put on the sideline. Because once you start getting established in your role, you start getting comfortable. And the thing about my role is I work with really old people. My coworkers are like 40 years old. I'm the youngest person in the office, probably about 15 years. You kind of start becoming who you surround yourself with. I realize I'm becoming more of an adult every day. And I have to kind of remind myself that I'm only 23, but mentally I feel like I'm 27. Like everything that I do now, I definitely feel like I'm a little older. And it's almost like I feel like life is escaping me sometimes. I think that's a factor of living alone and moving to a new city where I don't have too many friends. And I guess just growing up too early, I had to adapt and mature very early on due to a rough upbringing, right? Just being an immigrant son. Immigrant children have to mature very early on. It's a saddening fact, but your childhood kind of gets ripped away because you have to grow up in this country where survival is very, very difficult. And I guess the point of this video is me just trying to make sense of all this, right? And just opening up about my, confusion about the world. You know, growing up, I was pretty poor, I'm not gonna lie. And I had all these wonderful dreams of like traveling the world and doing all these cool and fun things. The thing that always limited to me was money and income. I just didn't have money to do any of these cool things. So growing up for the longest time, I just wished I could like fast forward my life to where I am now. And that would be like 23, 24, because I knew that I'll have a job. I was able to help my family out and provide for myself. But that meant a lot of sacrifice. It meant from like an early age, I had to work. I had to pick up very strange jobs from a very young age, while everyone else my own age was out doing cool stuff, hiking, going on vacations. I just kind of had to work because there just wasn't any money. I had to help myself out and my family. So I guess this childhood just kind of gets like ripped away. But now I'm finally in a position where I can kind of do what I want. You think that once you have income, you would do all these cool things, but it's almost like you just become an adult and you just start to see the risks and liability and the consequences of everything. You're just not as adventurous. And it's like I'm 23 and I should feel at like my prime. But I feel like there's just a lot of things that are just like holding me back. I had to strive for stability and security for the longest time because that's something my life lacked. Now that I'm here, I'm starting to realize it's hard for me to kind of turn on the flame of adventure, to set out to do my own thing, because once you start work, you start to have real life bills. You can buy cool toys, and it's not like I've been irresponsible with my money. I've been saving a good amount, but there's just like bills that I realize that like have to get paid regardless if I work or not, and it's all dependent upon me. And certain things like life insurances, health insurance, just bills and rent, right? There's just things that you need to pay. Even if I went back home to my parents' house and lived in their basement, I would still be obligated to pay for certain bills because it's just, they can't really afford to take care of it. So I have to kind of take care of myself and others. So it's a lot of responsibility upon my shoulders. So I guess this video is just a rant about myself, just trying to find meaning and to reignite my life full of meaning. Because when you work around 40-year-olds who have like children and then their complaints about what the world is, it's very serious stuff, right? It's like the parents get sick and they have to help out with their bills, or if someone passes away and they gotta deal with like funeral costs. And it's just like I'm 23 and I feel like I should be living in the city partying it up, but it's just like I feel like that isn't really aligned to my values and where I am in my life. I'm just kind of more ahead of the curve. I feel like I'm literally 27 and 30 dealing with financial choices. I feel like a lot of the things I do right now are just like figuring out like Roth IRAs, index funds, 401ks, life insurances, all that fun stuff, payment plans for like health things, my own health issues. I'm struggling with my own health. I'm just trying to figure out like what do I want out of this. It's just kind of strange. I can see why a lot of people settle for a mediocre, safe life, because it's just so much easy. Like you get like tossed in with this current, and it just kind of like you start working, you start saving money. Some people buy new cars, or you start buying a house because that's what you do when you're an adult. And then like once you get these bills, you're like fucking locked in. Like you can't just stop working. You can't just take a sabbatical and go travel the world. And I guess that's something I'm struggling with, is because like certain things I want in my life that I just like never could attain, you know, from a young age. Like some people like had houses to live in. I always lived in a shitty apartment growing up. I've never lived in a house. Just certain things like that like I always strove to achieve, but I'm starting to realize like these are like legit liabilities, and you kind of become a slave to these purchases. I'm just trying to figure out like what do I want in my own life, right? Because I feel like the entire time my entire life goal was to strive for stability and security, and that's boring. I feel like a lot of people that I went to school with and grew up with, they took all this for granted. Like stability and security should be like the #1 priority. I mean, if you're an immigrant, it's like what you strive for. But a lot of people I grew up with, they took all this for granted because their parents just kind of gave it to them. Working a 9 to 5 and doing these boring stuff, like, and being secure is not adventurous in it, and it's like something that's frowned upon in today's society. But for me, like working an office job at 9 to 5, like it's a fucking blessing because it provides you income and a meal, and you can actually plan your life and actually not worry about only today's and tomorrow's struggle. Your energy gets freed up and your anxiety is lessened, and you can actually like live and breathe for the first time. And I guess that's a positive thing I'm realizing while I'm talking about this, is I can actually do things that I truly enjoy and start planning for things that make me happy versus just always being in survival mode. Yes, well, I have bills to pay for, but I think if I save adequately, I would like to travel the world again. That's something that's been in my books. I would love to just take a sabbatical after working in consulting for like 2 years and then just fuck off. I just want to fuck off. I just want to like just live, right? Because when you work in an office job, it's kind of soul sucking sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's not fun most of the days. I mean, you can find enjoyment. You're mainly doing it for the paycheck, if I'm being honest. Consulting pays pretty well, so that's why I'm doing it. But yeah, finding meaning as an adult, and especially in 2021, has been extremely difficult for me. Maybe it's just a matter of fact that I moved across the country by myself and I don't have roommates. And I don't really have an established friend group yet. Yeah, I just feel like I'm 23 and I'm not acting like a 23, and I feel like I'm missing out. But I feel like the realities of life are always there. But I feel like most 23-year-olds just don't want to focus on it, or they have the privilege to not worry about it because their parents are worrying about it for them. But it doesn't mean that the issues of life just aren't there. I feel like we're just been indoctrinated by the media and like movies growing up, of like Friends, of like what your life should look like in your 20s. When you're an immigrant child who grew up pretty poor, I don't think that's feasible because you just had such a dramatic difference in life. This was a complete rant. I just wanted to open up and just express like what I've been thinking. And if you are struggling with this as well, you're not alone. Trying to find meaning as an adult is very hard. It's like you have this endless opportunities of choice, but you get to decide, and most of the time you just don't choose. So I guess my point is, if you have a burning desire to do something, or you have a passion, or if you just want to travel, get it out of the way really early. Because I'm 23 and I'm realizing like, holy crap, if you don't do it now, you won't do it later. Like 100% you won't do it later. I thank you if you've made it this far in the video. I've started like a month ago, so it's been a month, which is awesome, but like no one fucking watches these videos. Like no one cares. Like this isn't even being broadcasted to a wider audience. So I'm starting to realize like I have nothing to lose, because I had like such a fear of like putting myself out there and dealing with criticism and hate, but no one's fucking watching these videos. So I think that's a blessing. And it's not like I'm making these videos for fame or anything. It's mainly for me to make sense of my own life. It'd be nice if someone found value in this, right? So I wish you the best. Like to subscribe for more content, even if you made it this far. I don't think you have, but thank you so much. Namaste.